Thanks for having me. Wonderful to be here. Great to see a last turnout, considering Bangalore traffic and everything. You managed to get here in the morning, so that's awesome. I believe I'm the last keynote, so I'll just presume that they have saved the best for the last. So here we go. So she already introduced me, so she took away a little bit of my thunder. But essentially, I'm heading the Oracle Startup Cloud Accelerator. So I'll just quickly, if this works, okay. But I am very much a techie. I come from a very much hardcore tech background. These are the 4 books that I have written. So I was very much into Java right from its early days. I was the co-author of the J2EE Bible, wrote a couple of other books about Oracle technologies. Last book was about the Oracle Java Cloud Service, and been writing a lot. And I used to run a company in Pune called Indic Threads for more than a decade. So very much a techie, but also a business, kind of ran a business for more than a decade, so I could understand the business part of it. So about a year and a half, almost a year and a half back, I had this kind. I knew a lot of people in Oracle, and I had somebody reach out to me that, okay, this is this thing that we are pushing. Oracle is very serious about engaging with startups, and with my profile of an entrepreneur plus a techie, they thought I could be a good fit for that role. So I thought, yeah, I was looking to do something new, been running my business for a long time, was thinking of other options, and I jumped at it. This looks like a great opportunity. So about a year and a half back, I joined Oracle and part of the Oracle startup ecosystem, and I was one of the early guys who joined the startup ecosystem engagement in Oracle. And what we did was, actually in Bangalore, I don't know how much you're aware of that Bangalore is where Oracle startup engagement really began. So about a year and a half back, we started the first accelerator across the globe in Bangalore, and now we have expanded to 9 centers worldwide. So and again, this is something for Indians to be proud of, and kind of shows about how committed Oracle and even many other companies are investing heavily because they understand the promise of India, the promise of Indian startups innovating. So we have 3 centers in India, and we have a few others worldwide, but India by far has more startup accelerator centers than any other place in the world. So currently I'm looking at the 3 centers in India, the one in Singapore and the one in France. And apart from that, because we were engaging with startups and we were benefiting from that engagement, and also because the startups were benefiting from it, we thought that we need to take it to the next level and engage with many more startups. That's why recently we launched a couple of new programs called the Oracle Scale-Up Ecosystem and Oracle for Higher Education. So we are trying to engage with startups in a more virtual, lightweight form than a full-fledged accelerator. And we are also engaging with universities and some of the leading research institutes worldwide. So that's where we are. So yeah, going back to the earlier slide, that's the URL in case you are interested in what Oracle is doing with startups. And currently we have our applications open for the next round of, for the next cohort at our accelerator centers. So if you are, how many of you are startups? How many of you are working for startups? Okay, not that many. Okay, how many are startup founders? Okay, how many of you aspire to be startup founders? Okay, that's usually a big number, right? So you are the guys you should be reaching out to us. If you have any dreams, if you have any plans of starting up, Oracle can help you go big. It is very difficult to succeed as a startup irrespective of how good you are. There are just so many factors at play that even if you might have the greatest of technology, greatest of ideas, even a very passionate team, still it does not work at times. So you need the help from entities like Oracle. It might not even be Oracle, but you need to engage with any such community players that can help you succeed. So all those guys who raise their hands for aspiring startup founders, please do engage with us or any such entities, and I think that is very important for your success. Going forward, so what are we doing with this? So why are we engaging with the startups? Why are we doing this? Because we find that Oracle has so much to offer to the startups, not just on the technology front, but also from a customer connects angle. Because for a startup to succeed, I mentioned that there are many factors, but perhaps the most important factor is being able to land customers. And Oracle has like over 4 lakh customers worldwide. And if we can partner with the startups and take innovation to our customers, that really has been working wonders for us. Our customers love it because we have these weird startups or crazy startups even at times that we take to them along with the great Oracle technology that they have trusted for decades, and the customers love it. So if I could just play that video, could you just play that video, please? You need to click on the, okay, the laptop is here, so I think I am responsible for that. Okay. Yeah.
Drezai is an advanced analytics and AI-based solution that we provide to malls, brands, and retailers to offer in-store and online personalization to their customers so that the customers know what to wear and how to wear. We've had some great tech sessions with the technical mentors here. We've also successfully migrated from other cloud service providers to the Oracle Cloud. We would like to leverage Oracle's contacts and networks to tap into different geographies and deploy our solution into the US and European markets, as well as tap into the IoT solution.
So this is one startup in Bangalore that is right now working with us. So we have Oracle product team sitting with them, trying to innovate along with them, seeing where Oracle could help those guys and seeing where we could learn from those guys. And together we are taking their solution to our customers, saying, okay, this is really amazing technology and this is what Oracle already has, and let's see if we can do something for you. And the snap there, in case you can't pick it from a distance, that Larry Ellison, Oracle founder, one of the richest men in the world, we took these startups to San Francisco some days back, and they managed to interact with Larry. He spent like a couple of hours with them. So that was great. The founders loved it. So this is just a bunch of the startups that we are currently working with, but there are hundreds of others. This is just a snapshot of that. So when I thought of what should I be talking of here, I just had 20 minutes. So you can't really teach any technology in 20 minutes. Right? 60 minutes at times does not suffice. So I thought I'm working with hundreds of startups worldwide, at least talking to them. With dozens of startups, I've really gone in depth into understanding what their architecture is like. So I thought in 10, 15 minutes, that's something I could share. That what is the architecture, what is the usual startup cloud architecture that I'm seeing out there? Where are startups moving? Because what happens is, these startups are usually really early adopters. These are often people who are just using that latest, coolest technology because it's just fun. It might not even be the best technology for their solution or for their startup, but when you are starting up, you want to use the latest, coolest technology. So usually these are the kind of front runners, the early adopters for technology. So if you are not in a startup, you probably might not be using the technologies these guys are, but I'm very sure that in a couple of years, that will pretty much be the norm in most companies because that's what the usual trend is. So what am I seeing with startups? I'm seeing that over the past year and a half, even when I joined Oracle, the startups that we had a very different architecture from the kind of startups I see today. So of course, there was a little bit of Docker. So I'm sure the Docker has been discussed here for the past couple of years at this conference. So Docker has been around for some time, but it was not that widely used about a year and a half, 2 years back in real applications. But today what I am seeing is across the boards, the startups are loving it. Startups, I just keep finding startups that are on such an architecture where it's Docker, Kubernetes at times where they are a little more mature. They realize that managing the Docker thing is becoming a bit of a challenge, but Docker is like across the board. Microservices and Docker-based architecture is pretty much becoming the norm for startups. Many startups we have today are on that kind of an architecture. As for Kubernetes, so this is kind of how we see it evolve, that when people just starting up, they're just initially a few friends just building their stuff out, they essentially do something with Docker containers and get it going. But gradually, when they start doing POCs for their customers, they find that they need to scale up, they need to do more. They realize that managing all these customer containers is becoming a significant challenge for them. That's when something like Kubernetes comes in, and they start playing with it and kind of using Kubernetes to manage all their containers. That's the usual cycle. And the third part is where what we find is with Oracle customers is that even Kubernetes, managing Kubernetes itself, many of you might have already tried it, is not that simple. So what they tell us, our customers, is that we want something that makes it even easier for us to manage the Kubernetes clustering and all the other features that it has. So that's why Oracle has made many acquisitions over the past couple of years. And some of the acquisitions that we have made using those technologies and the Oracle technologies that we already had, we are investing significantly into building a managed Kubernetes kind of infrastructure so that you have the Docker containers, you are using Kubernetes, which is of course a open source and very popular technology to manage Docker containers for the container orchestration part of it. But over that, Oracle is investing heavily in building technology to manage the whole thing. And we are seeing great adoption across the board. Enterprise are always a little slower, kind of a little behind the curve as regards latest tech. So the startups are picking it up even more enthusiastically. So many of the startups that are with us right now are early adopters of these technologies and really loving it. So that's the trend that I see. So if your company is not already doing this, I would expect that you will see this over the next maybe year or two. So, okay, the container, I already touched on this a little bit, that people, once you start really building it out, the ease of managing containers is not really there if you just don't have anything like Kubernetes or any managed Kubernetes solution. So that's why with multi-container apps for the scheduling, as to service discovering your microservices, it becomes quite a challenge, and that's when these technologies come in. That's why Oracle is investing heavily in that. So this is what we have today, that you can bring in any CI/CD solution. It could be Jenkins, or it could be Worker, the company that Oracle acquired last year. It could be any of that. You just push it out to the registry solution that we have built, and then you manage the whole thing using the Oracle Container Engine for Kubernetes. And the big benefit of that is that, of course, all of these are great open source technologies. Oracle is very committed to the cloud native computing foundation. We have the platinum members on that foundation. So we are very much invested in contributing to those communities, but we also found that for our customers, they expect that additional feature from Oracle where they can kind of trust that this will be a performant, highly available, secure platform, and that's where we have the Oracle solutions built on top of that. Apart from that, this is something I think guys need to watch out for. I'm sure you're listening to a lot of talks around serverless. But on serverless, I think you need to be mindful of what kind of serverless you want to do. Because what I find is people are excited about serverless, but they don't realize that they're at times building stuff that is very proprietary, and you just completely lock into a particular vendor. Instead, the approach that Oracle is taking, I think that just one line summarizes that essentially you can run your functions on any platform that can run run Docker containers. So today you might run it on the Oracle cloud, but tomorrow you can take it to some other cloud. We are not locking you into the Oracle cloud in any sense. We say that, okay, you have built a function, there's just a Docker container that is running it, you can easily migrate to any other cloud. This is not true about many of the other serverless solutions out there. So dig deeper before you actually commit to serverless. So essentially, this is the architecture that I'm seeing, and I think if you are not already working with a startup, you're not already on this, you will see that your company would get to this kind of an architecture over the next couple of years, that you would be using Docker containers extensively. People are loving it. It leads to significant cost savings. It's much easier to roll out. It's far better suited for a cloud kind of environment where you just spin up the containers that you really require and don't really go the full distance, don't do a monolith thing that we all did a few years back. So seeing that across the board, Kubernetes, again, just rapid adoption. It's amazing. It's probably, I forget the stats, but it's one of the most popular open source projects out there, and it's probably growing at unbelievable speeds, this kind of speeds that we haven't seen before for a long time. So now when I'm working with all these startups, I just talked of their architecture and their technology, but what are the things I realize, what are the things that as a startup these guys need to watch out for, and maybe you also need to consider? One thing I found across the board with startups is security is just not a consideration. So the people at Oracle who work with these startups always are very amused with the kind of things these startups are doing. Because at Oracle, we are like really obsessed with technology, with enterprises, like security is the first thing our customers ask us. But with these startups, they just believe they're Superman or Batman or whatever, and they just presume that they are not ever going to get hacked and nothing will happen, and their application will just run fine. And then at times they do get hit, and it's very difficult to recover from those kinds of hits. So security is something, if you are a startup, if you're doing something on your side along with your job, your manager does not know of it, but if you're doing something on the side to start up, many of you are aspiring entrepreneurs. So keep security as a top priority from day one for your entire team. Across the board, startups are not doing that and taking a hit later on when they really want to deliver for the real world. Performance and planning for scale, again, it's a tricky one because you want to move at a rapid pace, you want to deliver something in quick time, so you can't spend too much time on those things, but you need to just be mindful of that. So you can't get obsessed with it that tomorrow if I have 1 million users, how will my site work? That is not as important as actually being able to land those 1 million users. So the business side of it is more important. So I'm sure you'll get contradictory advice on this, but my sense is if you have just a team of 3-4 people, performance and building for scale is important, but it's okay that you don't obsess about that early on. You just need to build something really useful and something that works well for your customers. And the things I think you need to watch out for if you're a startup is vendor lock-in. I see that across the board. The startups, they just pick whatever is the easiest or what their friends have used. They just start spinning up some services that on some vendor, and later on they realize they are stuck So I just met a startup a few days back at a conference, and they were like completely suffering because they are running up bills of more than 1 lakh a month. They have no capacity to pay those bills. They have built up a humongous community. So the company, the startup is doing very well. But the thing is, this, for the revenues to come in for the startup, it often takes 3 years or 5 years. But if they start running up bills of over 1 lakh in a 1 year's time when they have built a community, it's kind of because they were so successful, they're suffering. That they have to pay these big bad bills, and the architecture that they have, they're hopelessly locked into a particular cloud vendor, and now they're stuck. So these guys were really suffering. So we are trying to help them out in a sense as to trying to work with them what their architecture could be and see if we can do something for that, because that's a big pain point for startups. If you start spending so much on just the technology in your early days, it's very difficult for your business to survive. So vendor lock-in is something you should absolutely watch out for. When you start your company, when you decide on your architecture, there are free calculators available online which can show you that if you go for Oracle Cloud, this will be your overall spend. If you go for some other cloud, if you go for a third cloud, what will be the kind of spend? So come up with some projections of where you would be 1 year down the line and see how much you would be spending if you're on X cloud or Y cloud or Z cloud. So do that early on. Don't wait till you actually get there and you get those big fat invoices and you're struggling. That is something I see very often. Credit burn, again, most startups underestimate how much credit they are going to burn. They think that initial days in the honeymoon period, kind of it's easy, it's all for free, you just click here and there, you're not getting charged anything, and you're fine. But once they start getting some traction, once they start getting some users, the credits burn in quick time. Across most vendors, some vendors are of course more pricey. Oracle has the most cost-effective solution on the IaaS part of it. You would see third-party industry reports that also say that. So that is something to watch out for when you're starting up. Just see how much credits you're burning and kind of come up with those projections. And lastly, kind of I talked a little bit about this, is look at is the solution that you're using, is it based on open standards? Is this a community-driven project? So if you're using something like Kubernetes, you're nowhere locked into an Oracle or any other vendor. You can move easily. If you're using something like the FN project for functions as a service, you're in no sense locked into Oracle. You can move easily anytime you feel like. But if you're using a proprietary technology with a particular vendor, you might have some additional functionality there. I don't deny that, because there are vendors out there who have been here for a long time and they have some additional functionality built over time. So I'll give that part to it, but then you are locked in. So you need to weigh those options. Do you want to kind of commit to a vendor and just do proprietary stuff? Or do we want to stay on a community platform like a Kubernetes and just keep your options open if at all you find a need for it? So that's what I had in terms of what startups are using today, what's the kind of architecture startups are using today, and I thought I could share that with you. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you. Those are my contact details, and we have a booth outside. So if you're a startup, if you're an aspiring entrepreneur, if you know great startups who could benefit from working with Oracle, please reach out to us, and that's the QR code you could apply for the accelerator. Thank you.